I'd like to call to order the May 15th, 2017 regular meeting of the Sonoma City Council. Nope, we're going to go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Former Mayor Ken Brown, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All please rise.
My distinct pleasure to lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I please get a roll call?
Councilmember Agrimonti. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington. Here. Mayor Hundley.
Here.
Thank you.
You might notice that there is a new item on our agenda called Approval of Agenda, and I'm going to turn this over to our city manager to explain this and some other changes you might see on today's agenda.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Hundley and council and community members. We are, as you may remember, a couple weeks ago, we brought an item to the council to improve some of our technology and transparency for the community. And so Rebecca Barr, our city clerk, behind me, has been actively working on implementing our new, what we are calling a City Council Commission web portal. And this new web portal will allow the council and community to come to our website, find council meetings, be able to, on one page, see the video, see the agenda, and open staff reports, and be able to search history, and it will be one stop where all that information is in one location. There'll also be information, just additional information about each commission, each council member, et cetera. But right now, we've been lucky to have Sonoma Valley Community Communications hosting the video, and it's on a different site, and it's kind of clunky to find. So this really will be far easier for the community to watch council meetings, follow council meetings. You'll also be able to watch council meetings from, while they stream from any mobile device. So these are some enhancements that we're doing. As we've done this, we've looked at a few changes to make to the agenda format. And if council members of the community may remember, we've also had some conversations about some things that came out of some questions about the Brown Act, about a recent item that we really needed to clarify and look at how the agenda was structured. So there's two things. This first item that the mayor spoke about, this approval of the agenda. So we have this new item that we'll consistently have on that will be approval of the agenda. We're probably going to, right now it shows before public comment. We're probably going to be moving this to after public comment. But really what it lets us to do is to be very clear to both council and the community and everyone watching when we're adding an item, when we're maybe pulling an item, if we're going to move an order around an item. So it just provides additional clarity. It's a practice that I've used in other agencies, and I think it will help us going forward. The other item is that traditionally, Sonoma, both our commissions and council members have had a public comment at the end of the meeting. And while I can appreciate this is maybe a piece of Sonoma's culture, it also is not typical to have a public comment at the end of the meeting. Some agencies will have public comment if they need to carry over. Maybe they have a very long number of folks coming at public comment and you need to carry that over to the end of the meeting. But typically to have another public comment at the end, and I think a concern that we have, and I think a concern we saw recently where, it's late at night, sometimes new items come up under public comment at the end, and it's really kind of not where we want to be having that kind of conversation. We want to front end that. So there is not public comment at the end of this meeting. I had hoped to kind of roll all that out when you saw the new technology, but we're kind of doing this in phases, and so I just wanted to make sure that all of this was clear to the community. We are very excited. I know council, I've been able to show you when on some of our meetings you can see what the technology will do, and I really believe that this will be very helpful to press, members of the public. You'll be able to go watch one item if you want to watch one item and not have to watch a 3-hour meeting, and just a level of transparency and ease that I think our citizens expect. So with that, I will turn it to the council. What we'd be asking for you at this point as manager, I have nothing to add, change, or remove. So at this point, if the mayor could call for approval of the agenda, and then we will continue to move forward in making some of these changes and enhancements.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Okay. City Clerk, can I get a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilmember Agrimonti,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards,
Yes.
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Mayor Hundley.
Aye.
Thank you.
And on a related note, you'll see that everyone except for me has a nice iPad because we're going paperless for our packets, which usually we get at least this much of paper every other week, and so now we are going paperless. Next up, comments from the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. It is recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Under state law, unless otherwise permitted under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the merits of the matters presented under this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the City Council at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for council consideration. Upon being acknowledged by the mayor, please step to the podium and speak into the microphone. Begin by stating and spelling your name.
Ken Brown, 1396 Lubeck Street. I personally am eagerly awaiting when the council brings back the cannabis issue for locating a medical cannabis club inside the city. So I look forward to that, and Godspeed, City Manager.
Thank you.
If I might, I'd like to extend a little bit beyond 3 minutes. I believe it's about 3 minutes and 14 seconds.
All right, well, keep talking. Talk quickly.
Okay. I stand before you, the esteemed members of the City Council, not only as a full-time tax-paying Sonoma homeowner, but also as a small business owner. My name is Len Handeland. I opened my hair salon, Red Loft Salon, 5 years ago, come June 1st. Sadly, I will not be able to celebrate my 5-year anniversary because the out-of-town landlord, someone whose reputation already precedes her, has thrown my life, not to mention my business, into turmoil. I've worked hard to build a 5-star rating on Yelp with a predominantly local client base after having spent 22 years in the hair business in San Francisco. Last year, my hair salon, Red Loft Salon, was awarded Best Hair Salon in Sonoma by the Sonoma Index Tribune's People's Choice Award. Despite those accolades, I am being forced to close simply due to an out-of-town landlord delivering a 51% rent increase. It's the type of increase which, in my opinion, is financially raping and forcing small businesses to either close or relocate after years of hard work and money spent on advertising, along with all of the permits that were required by the city and county while building their businesses. We should all question what is happening to our town, which we all so deeply love and care about. I am certain I'm not the only Sonoma resident who has come before the City Council questioning the overrun of wine tasting salons on the plaza. To date, the number exceeds 30 in a town of 10,000 people. However, I am quite possibly the first small business owner to come forward as I am directly being affected by this. These wine tasting salons have escalated rents beyond reason on the plaza. They have the deep financial means to afford such outrageous San Francisco-type rents, which forces locally owned, community-serving businesses providing services to people who live here to either close or relocate off the plaza, which then reduces the need for locals to visit other plaza-centric businesses and restaurants. Soon, in the not-too-distant future, we will have 0 plaza-based businesses that provide services for residents who live here. The majority of businesses will be geared exclusively to tourists, wine tasting rooms, turning our town into Disneyland with wine. Is this what Sonoma wants? I'm not suggesting tourism is a bad thing. In fact, it can be a good thing. However, not exclusively, which it seems to be fast becoming, and should not be at the expense of residents who live here looking for services downtown, or to residents like myself trying to run a decent, honest business, providing services to local residents. There must be a happy medium. If not, and even worse, when the economy sobers up, tourism reduces, then perhaps even wine rooms can't renew leases at ridiculous rents to out-of-town landlords. And our beautiful plaza will be surrounded by vacant spaces. So the question to all of you is, At what point will the City Council plan to take action by creating a moratorium on wine tasting rooms? Or will the town of Sonoma, specifically our downtown, continue to have small businesses either put out of business or forced to relocate well beyond the plaza, all for the sake of the greed of an out-of-town landlord charging rents that only the wineries can afford?
Lynn,
Thank
can you
you.
give us your last name and your address?
Sure. Handeland, Handeland, 2410 Thornsbury, Sonoma, CA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heidi Darling, and I'm the Communications Director for First Street East Project. I stood here before you, I think a month ago, just letting you know that we're striving to do a better job of communicate specifically around the benefits of the project and benefits of mixed use and a kind of way of approaching problem solving that hopefully accomplishes more than one thing at a time. So last month we started with Lois Fisher of Fishertown Designs, who spoke about the benefits of mixed use. Tonight we're going to take a deeper dive on sustainable tourism and financial sustainability and how they might intersect. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lois Fisher again. She is on the adjunct faculty of Sonoma State University. She runs an urban design firm, and she's going to speak tonight. And she's also going to have an assistant that's going to do a flip chart to help you guys follow along visually. There are some pamphlets for audience members who would like to follow along. Lois?
Thank you, Heidi. Lois Fisher, Loisfisher. Address is 9509 Wellington Circle in Windsor, California. So I'm going to hold this side. And I've also been on the Planning Commission in Windsor for about 12 years, so understand a little bit about the role of Planning Commission. And we're here to talk about the First Street East mixed-use project. It's on First Street East, and it's across from Hughes Field. And so in terms of financial sustainability, the CalPERS question has been coming up. And in 2015, the average household in California owed $93,000 towards that fund. It has now come closer to home in that there was an article by Ken Churchill in the Press Democrat earlier in this year, and he said that everyone can expect about to triple, have their CalPERS expenses tripled in the next 8 years. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you guys have plenty of backup revenue, but these is the source of discretionary revenue, and it is basically property taxes, sales taxes, and then TOT. Those are the major sources, and then Measure J. So these would be the places if you want to add revenue to help cover that CalPERS cost. And this is one of the key slides. It's one of the slides I showed you last week. And basically, there's a company called Urban 3 from the East Coast. And they did an analysis, and they found out that if you have mixed use, you end up getting 5 times more property tax than if you approve a strip mall. So not only does your town look better and act better, but you get more money as a town. And they did an in-depth review of Santa Rosa, and they found that the Burbank building, which is much taller than you'd ever see in Sonoma, at 5 stories, 0.4 acres of that would equal a 13-acre Walmart in terms of tax revenue for the city. And then Urban 3 did a very interesting heat map, which you can actually see the highest spikes are where the most tax revenue is coming. And you can almost see this is the Healdsburg Inn, this is the Sonoma Plaza. It does pretty well. And what's fascinating is that Roanoke Park, you can see right there, doesn't have any spikes, doesn't have any mixed use, doesn't have a town, doesn't have a center. So the fact that you guys have a center is very good for your future revenue streams. So what can you expect from the First Street East mixed-use project? Over 5 years, there'll be some revenues. Right now, there's a certain amount coming in, about $200,000 a year. And over time, you could expect to have additional funding coming in from residential and then the inn. And some of it would also go to the Sonoma Valley School District. So you can see that all these different sources together add up to just about $1 million a year over the next 5 years, which is significant and could really help you if you need to address the CalPERS issues. So basically, a 3.4 acre infill site could provide almost $1 million of income to Sonoma. So that's financial sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Yep.
Bob Felder, 5th Street East, Sonoma, Felder. Perfect segue to what I want to talk about tonight. 2 weeks ago, I stood before you and I expressed my concern for the number of vacancies that are on the Planning Commission with all the important projects that are coming before this town. I still have that concern, but I have another one that's been added to it. Right now, we have a planning commissioner whose term has expired, who is still serving on the Planning Commission. And according to what I understand, the city attorney has given the opinion that he is free to continue to serve until a replacement has been named. To me, that is not what is permitted in the municipal code. I think the code is very, very clear on what the procedure should be. And I quote, "The commissioner shall first be appointed for a 2-year term. The council may reappoint a commissioner to a second term of 4 years and a third term of 2 years. But all reappointments shall be made at the sole discretion of the city council, utilizing the procedures contained in paragraph 2.40.100, and that states that appointments to city commissions shall be filled by a nomination by the mayor and ratification by the city council. There is no holdover position in the municipal code that allows commissioners to continue to act after their appointment has been expired. And I think this is putting the city and the Planning Commission in jeopardy of having every decision that they reach challenged by whoever chooses to do it. And I would ask the city attorney for some basis for this opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Diane Calgin, and I am here from the Human Services Department from the County of Sonoma. And I'm here to invite you to our open house that we'll be having for our new South County Center that is opening on May 31st. I misspoke. The office actually opened on April 24th. And it is in Petaluma with the idea that it is our first outstation center that we have to offer human services. And it is our thought that some residents of the Sonoma Valley would be able to access social services in Petaluma closer than going into the city of Santa Rosa, which is where most of our services are located. So just to be clear, we are offering at the Petaluma Center, we are offering access to Medi-Cal, to CalFresh, to in-home supportive services, the protective services for adults and also for children, and also our employment and training programs as well. So I brought with me some announcements and invitations, which I'll leave. Thank you.
And so on the 31st, is that like a grand opening ceremony?
It's our grand opening.
And what
Yeah,
time
it's
does
at
that
5
start?
o'clock.
5
Yeah.
o'clock. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it
Mayor
back.
Hundley, before
Oh.
I'd like to ask the city attorney to briefly respond to Mr. Felder's question about the ability of commissioner to continue to be seated. I just want to have clarity and not have any concerns about this issue. So if you would just, if we could make a few brief comments.
Yeah, yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and members of the council. We did look into this issue when it first came up. It first came up some months ago, not with this appointment, but with a different appointment to the Planning Commission. The general rule under California law is that the individual who is the incumbent in a position continues to serve until their successor is selected, sworn, and seated. Now, that general rule obviously can be overcome by statute. The speaker seems to believe that the city council's existing statute speaks differently. However, as council is aware, that statute has been interpreted by the city for a number of years to mean exactly the same thing as the state law provides, that the successor, until the successor is seated, the incumbent sits in that position until they are either removed from office or a successor appointed.
And maybe just one other comment. I think this is a piece that as the council looks at our reappointment process, which we anticipate bringing back in June, this is a place that it might be good to provide additional clarity and policy direction, that when we update what's in the ordinance, we can also clarify this area. So appreciate Mr. Felder bringing it up, and happy to speak with him more.
Oh, could I just ask one additional point of clarification? What law, statute, case is that rule found?
So in general, that rule is applicable initially to city council seats and elections for...
I just mean, is it in the California Government Code?
Oh, it is in the California... Yes, sorry. I apologize. Yes, in the California Government Code. Thank you.
All right, item 3.1. We have a proclamation declaring the month of May 2017 as Community Resilience Challenge Month, and I would like to invite Susan Price, Development and Events Coordinator of Daily Acts, to join me at the podium, and I will come down and meet you. Testing.
Hi.
Community Resilience Challenge Month, May 2017. Whereas the City of Sonoma is concerned about the health and well-being of its residents and seeks to create a healthy, sustainable, and livable community. And whereas in 7 years of the annual Community Resilience Challenge, over 5,000 people across Sonoma County have committed to complete nearly 31,000 actions to save water, grow food, conserve energy, reduce waste, and build community. And whereas Daily Acts is a key partner providing programs and services that educate residents, students, businesses, and community leaders about sustainable practices. And whereas the City of Sonoma can achieve its climate goals by growing and eating fresh, local garden produce, greening its transportation, and creating energy and water-efficient homes, businesses, schools, and communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Sonoma commits to actively support the Community Resilience Challenge and its goal to inspire action to save water, grow food, conserve energy, reduce waste, and build community. And as a partner, pledges to support the Community Resilience Challenge activities within the county and use county communications, media, and programming to promote the cultivation of healthy food, waste reduction, and energy and water efficiency. And further, may it be resolved that the City of Sonoma actively declares the month of May Community Resilience Challenge Month in the City of Sonoma as we work together for a healthier, more vibrant, and viable future.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
I would love to. Thank you. Thank you. So the Community Resilience Challenge is like a New Year's resolution for the environment. It's in its 8th year, and at this point we've inspired hundreds of thousands of people to take action to save water, grow food, conserve energy, reduce waste, and build community. So this is a call to action. Like, this is the moment right now. Daily Acts is calling on you, our leaders, and those in the audience, and the people at home, to act on our community-based, people-powered solutions to the major issues that are facing our planet. Whether you bike to work one day a week or install a gray water system, maybe you sheet mulch your lawn, bring your own Tupperware when you go to buy lunch. These are all solutions, and they are all ways to get involved. So I'm asking you each to go online to dailyacts.org and register your actions tonight. Don't wait. This is the moment right here. So Together, we are helping to create a more connected, vibrant, and resilient community, one act at a time. Your actions, they will inspire others, and our shared problems will suddenly seem not so insurmountable. So thank you so much. I want to express my gratitude to the City of Sonoma for adopting this proclamation in support of the Community Resilience Challenge, and thank you so very much for your time this evening.
We have one more proclamation today, and I believe I'm inviting up Chief Sackett to join me. We are proclaiming Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is May 15th, 2017, today, and Police Week, which is May 14th through the 20th, 2017. Whereas, the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the members of law enforcement agencies of Sonoma Valley play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the City of Sonoma, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the police department of City of Sonoma has grown to be modern and scientific law enforcement agency which unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now therefore I, Rachel Hundley, Mayor, call upon all citizens of the City of Sonoma and upon all patriotic, civil, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 14th through 20th as Police Week, during which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers past and present who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of Sonoma to observe Monday, May 15th, as Peace Officers Memorial Day, to honor those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty.
Thank you. Sure, I know. You'll hear a lot of me tonight, but on behalf of the men and women of the police department, the sheriff's office, our friends from the Highway Patrol, we thank you for this proclamation. It does mean a lot to us. Today is an important day, Peace Officer Memorial Day. Many of us are wearing the black bands and the flags are at half staff to recognize those people who have come before us who have given the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you on behalf of that.
Thank you. All right, so before you go too far, we have item 3.3. Can we do it after the presentation? Sorry. All right, item 3.3, presentation of the 2016 Police Department Annual Report. And I will hand it back to the police chief.
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Hundley and members of the council. In your packet, you have probably received a copy of the annual report. I will say before I get started, in light of the fact that you now have high-resolution iPads, I perhaps would have rethought the photograph on page 2, which was a much younger fella than you have currently standing before you. But nonetheless, lesson learned. On behalf of the men and women of the Sonoma Police Department, I'm proud to present to you our annual report for 2016. I am very pleased of their hard work, their dedication, and their effort of all members of the department. Our mission statement says that in partnership with our community, we commit to provide professional, firm, fair, and compassionate law enforcement services with both integrity and respect. And I think this report reflects our never-ending desire to live up to those standards. Although we are not perfect, we do strive to live up to those standards each and every day with each one of our contacts. Over the past 5 years, we've seen sweeping changes in the criminal justice system, and in 2016 was really no different. In 2011, California enacted AB 109, which is known as the state's prison realignment program, which significantly reduced the number of inmates in state prison by simply transferring them back down to the county jail system. As such, there is little to no room in the county jail for our local offenders that are nonviolent. In addition, the voters passed Proposition 47 in 2014, which reduced many crimes from felonies to misdemeanors and allowed previously convicted inmates to petition for early release. Given the fact that the county jail is already full, we find it increasingly challenged to address some of the quality of life issues that plague Sonoma. And now in 2016, the voters passed Proposition 57, which removed many of the sentencing enhancements for violent crimes and allows felons to be released early, including career criminals convicted of many serious crimes such as sexual assault and rape. However, in spite of these major changes, the overall Part 1 crime, which is considered that crime which is most significant, remained relatively flat. We did see an increase in our violent crime rate, particularly in the area of sex offenses. However, in reviewing each of those cases, I believe some of that increase can be attributed to DOJ expanding the definition of what crimes are included in that particular category, and also the fact that we migrated many of the old Sonoma PD cases into our new system, and some of them got caught up in this particular counting. I did take a quick look at first quarter 2017, and it looks like our sex offenses are in line, significantly down from what was previously reported and in line with more of our historic lows. So hopefully 2016 was just an anomaly for us. We also experienced a reduction in the number of property crimes reported, but there's still room for improvement. Petty theft continues to be our #1 property crime, and I believe many of these thefts are simply crimes of opportunity, and taking simple precautions such as locking your doors and securing your valuables would go a long way to protecting your property and reducing the number of property crimes. And while I've always cautioned communities from comparing crime rates from one community to another because there are so many factors that contribute to crime rates, Sonoma regularly falls below the statewide average for crime, which reflects what I think we all know, which is that Sonoma is a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Our clearance rates, which represent those crimes that are cleared by either arrest or other exceptional means, continues to outpace the clearance rates for the western states, which is our benchmark. I think this reflects a diligent follow-up, robust investigations, and a strong community involvement, since many crimes are solved by information received from our residents. We simply cannot clear crimes or conduct thorough investigations without the trust, support, and help of our community. In 2016, the number of people arrested was up nearly 10% to just shy of 600. However, our juvenile arrests were down, which I contribute to two primary factors. One, we have a new school resource officer. And two, it's a revamping of the Sonoma Valley Youth and Family Service Program, which I'll talk a little bit about later. We did see a noticeable increase in the number of arrests for drunk and or drugged driving. Unfortunately, with the passage of Prop 64, which made recreational marijuana legal, I am concerned that we will continue to see a rise in drug driving, similar to those states that have legalized recreational marijuana. As such, DUI enforcement will continue to be one of our major priorities. And in speaking of DUI enforcement, for the second year in a row, Mothers Against Drunk Driving honored Deputy Alan Collier, who works graveyards for us, for his efforts to combat drunk driving in our community. We don't have our information regarding our traffic accident data from the statewide system yet due to their backlog, but internal data indicates that we're on a continuing downward trend on the number of reported traffic accidents, which I think can be attributed to our strong traffic safety program, as well as a commitment from the community. And if you recall, in 2015-16, we did receive a grant from the California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control to focus on underage access to alcohol. So in 2016 in June, we completed that particular grant. We met all of the objectives through a variety of strategy, underage decoy operations, impact inspections, and really training with our local merchants and responsible beverage service training, which really has been a big, big success. As a matter of fact, we had a class last week. Our response time to priority 1 calls, which are those that are most serious, improved from last year, which is good. Our response time, many agencies calculate response times differently, but we calculate response times from the time the dispatcher picks up the phone to the time a deputy gets on scene. I believe that, as we all know, I think the congestion in and around the plaza, in and around the city alone, I think it has a significant impact on our, potentially has a significant impact on our response times, particularly as we navigate through First Street West and West Spain Street, which is the only way to get in and out of the police department. The police department, as you know, provides animal control services for the city, which includes animal licensing, permit review, enforcement of city, county, and state laws, animal-related investigations, and the care of impounded animals. Our community service officers provide that function for us, and they do a great job. In the absence of them, our patrol staff is the one who answers animal-related calls. Last year, we did see a decrease in the number of animal-related calls for service, which is great. However, we did see an increase in the number of animals brought into our shelter. The average stay in our kennel is approximately 2 days, which I think underscores the importance of licensing your dog for quick reunification, right, with the owners. We did investigate 4 reported dog bite cases, and those generally require a 10-day quarantine and a notification to the county animal control people. Last year, we wrote nearly 2,000 parking citations, which is down a little bit from the previous year. About half of those were for violating the time restrictions in and around the plaza. However, it's followed by mechanical violations, parking in red and yellow zones, and violations pertaining to disabled parking. We continue to have a strong partnership with the Sonoma Valley Youth and Family Services Diversion Program, which provides juvenile diversion services for first-time offenders in the valley. Last year, we referred 60 youthful offenders to the program, which I mentioned previously is down from their year prior. The program is equally funded, if you recall, from the Sheriff's Department and the City Police Department, or the city, which I think highlights our mutual commitment to provide innovative, community-based alternatives to putting people in the juvenile justice system. As I mentioned previously, the program underwent some structural changes, and I believe that will benefit the community and the program participants going forward. As a reminder from our program coordinator, 60% of the referrals were for alcohol and substance abuse, primarily marijuana. In light of Prop 64, I am concerned that those numbers continue to rise. So we all, as a community, need to be very careful about how we roll out and implement the new Prop 64 laws. As you all know, in 2013, we got a canine, Dickie, and he continues to be, hands down, the most popular crime fighter we got in our department. No offense to Ryan over there, but without our canine team, we really would not be able to provide the kind of services that we do. Our dynamic duo had 35 patrol-related deployments, which resulted in 12 suspect surrenders, which may not seem like a significant number, but that's 12 cases that we did not have to go hands-on with somebody. That could have resulted in a use of force encounter by either us or the suspect. And I think it brings a great deal of safety and security both to us and to the suspect and to the community. The K-9 team had 20 narcotic-related deployments, one of which resulted in the discovery of 20 pounds of drugs and narcotics and the recovery of several firearms. And they conducted over 240 hours of training and made numerous appearances, as I said, at community events, school functions, and has proven themselves to be a valuable asset. Last year when I was here, I said goodbye to Deputy Matt Regan, who had been our school resource officer for 9 years. Matt is doing well in domestic violence, sexual assault. He was out here just last week checking out on some things. But we did promote Deputy Eric Smith to that position. Eric had been an officer here at the PD for years, and he is excelling in that program. He's seasoned, he's intelligent, he's competent, and I see great things for him in the future. We continue to have an amazing cadre of dedicated volunteers who assist us on a daily basis with duties such as parking enforcement, plaza patrol, administrative tasks, special events. They've donated over 3,000 hours last year just to providing services to this community, and they really have been a force multiplier for us, and we are excited about their involvement. And as you know, back in November, there was a presidential election, and there's been a change in kind of immigration stance, which has caused a great deal of fear both in this community. And I know this council spent a great deal of time and energy trying to craft a statement of inclusion. And so we've spent a great deal of our time doing just that, trying to meet with the community, particularly the immigrant community, to show our commitment to providing a safe environment for them, one that they feel appreciated and safe. And so we will continue to do so. I'm, matter of fact, going to be sitting on a panel in the future, and I have another meeting at the end of the month to talk about similar stuff. So we are continuing to try to build those relationships because we really think that's really where it's at, is those one-on-one relationships with the community. As I said, one of my primary goals is to build public trust and confidence, and the best way to do that is through relationship building. So we've had significant community outreach. You've probably seen us at the farmers market or the parades, Ventures Festival, Independence Day. As a matter of fact, this year we had a great program where in partnership with our Deputy Sheriff's Association, our local Rotary, and Gary was part of that. We were able to hand out turkeys and hams during the holiday season to the most needy families, which was really not only great for the police department and the sheriff's office to be part of that, really was a great opportunity to build kind of relationship with the community and to provide them stuff that they need at a time that is oftentimes forgotten. One of the most successful events is our Coffee with the Cop program, which will be rolling out actually in a couple weeks at CRISP. But through that program, we had an incredible encounter with students at Creekside High School. And so they came over and we had some awesome interrelations with them. And so they invited us back the following week to their high school to have pizza with the police. And it's been just a really kind of a great opportunity to kind of build relationships with a segment of the community that's so important to us. And so we're looking forward to meeting up with them at the end of the school year as they graduate and move on to summer, and just to remember that we're there for them, not only as their public safety people, but also just members of our community. So in closing, I would like to thank the City Council for all your support and leadership, and to publicly acknowledge the great work of the city staff. They truly are a dedicated group of professionals. I look forward to a successful 2017. However, before I conclude my report, and this is a little bit off script, but last week I was notified that one of our officers, Ryan Mitchell, is going to receive an award from the California Highway Patrol for some work that he's done. So I thought, what greater time to recognize him than do it right here in front of everybody. And he's thrilled to death, I can see. So I would like to introduce Sergeant David Hoff. He's from the Auto Theft Task Force. And I think Lieutenant Ken Roberts is here as well from the Napa CHP office. So I will turn over them without stealing their thunder, and I will come back at the conclusion of that presentation.
I thought you were going to set the timer. Good evening. Thank you, Chief. I'm Dave Hoff. I'm a sergeant with the California Highway Patrol. With me, as he said, is Lieutenant Ken Roberts from the Napa area CHP. I currently serve as the commander of the Sonoma County Auto Theft Task Force. And just to give you a little background, the Sonoma County Auto Theft Task Force is a unit consisting of detectives from the CHP, the Santa Rosa Police Department, the Petaluma Police Department, as well as the Sonoma County Probation Department. And even though we have personnel from only 4 of the county's agencies, we are always willing and able to assist any law enforcement agency in the county with auto theft and auto theft related investigations. The mission of the Sonoma County Auto Theft Task Force is to identify, apprehend, and prosecute the professional auto thief. We also aim to reduce the incidence of auto theft and increase the recovery rate of those vehicles. Equally as important is public education, as well as law enforcement training and information. I'm proud to say that auto theft in Sonoma County has been on a steady decline over the past 2 to 3 years. That is not only through the work of the excellent task force detectives that work for me, but it's also in large part due to the diligence and professionalism of patrol personnel from around the county. Which brings me to why I'm here this evening. The California Highway Patrol, in cooperation with the American Automobile Association, aims to recognize outstanding efforts in auto theft recovery through the 10851 award. Section 10851 of the California Vehicle Code is the section for auto theft. In order to earn a 10851 award, an officer must, in 1 year's time, develop information on a vehicle theft ring, recover 10 or more vehicles, and take 2 or more suspects into custody, which is not easy, I tell you. Recover a total of 12 stolen vehicles, of which a minimum of 3 must be rolling stolens, or make 6 separate incident rolling stolen in custody arrests. Deputy Mitchell did the latter. If you want to come on up. Between March 25th, 2016 and September 18th, 2016, Deputy Mitchell recovered 6 stolen vehicles and arrested 7 suspects related to those vehicles. I would like to thank and commend Deputy Mitchell for his dedication to helping defeat auto theft in our county and for his outstanding level of service to the citizens of our county. On behalf of the California Highway Patrol and AAA, I'd like to award Deputy Mitchell with his first 10851 award. The award consists of this fine certificate here, as well as a pin that I'm sure he will be happy to put on his uniform and wear with pride. So congratulations, Deputy Mitchell. Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you, Chief Sackett. I appreciate the time. Madam Mayor and council members, thank you very much.
Thank you, and if the room would oblige, I would love to take a group photo with the council and our award winner, and even you, Sergeant Hoff and Chief.
Certainly.
And we'll do it right down here. You guys gotta get closer. Gotta get a little closer. Yep. Perfect. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Nice.
So this concludes my report to the council. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had some, and I wanted to thank the CHP for coming out tonight. And those who don't know, that's Steve Lucchetti, who works our cover shift with us, and Mike's still here, Mike Schemmel. So that's the crew you have. They through the short straw being on duty at the time when this was going on. So anyway.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the chief?
I
Councilmember
do have
Agrimonti.
some comments and questions, if
Great.
you don't mind. So I don't know if everyone knows this, but you have been very helpful in working with the group RISK here in Sonoma.
Yes.
It's a group that's been trying to get off the ground, and we've done Leslie Nicholson, the founder of this organization, has done some wonderful things, especially dealing with the dangers of opioids. You know, we've had some deaths of young people here in Sonoma. Binge drinking, we had a speaker that came, and one of the things I've learned to say whenever I run into young people is don't leave your friend passed out, because they can die. So I would just like to say thank you so much for that, because you've been very committed to this, and I know we've had some meetings.
Thank you. Can I make a quick addition to that?
Sure.
And I think that's a very important point about leaving your friends, because Sonoma in 2009-ish, I think, passed a social host ordinance, which really was to address, I'm not sure if I'm taking your thunder, to address underage drinking, primarily trying to create a disincentive for parents to provide alcohol in the homes, but also to hold kids accountable for underage drinking. And so one of the sections in there that we were very, very careful about getting into to the ordinance was if you call us because of a medical emergency, hands off for us, right? We're there to help you. You won't be held accountable. We don't want you to be concerned ever about calling us when your friends need help. And so that's a part of our ordinance that I think is probably one of the most important.
You're absolutely right. The worst, of course, right now is the aberration, I guess the word is, of Penn State, where 18 kids have been charged with the death of a young man.
Yep.
And so I appreciate the hard work that you've done with that. And I would like to also recognize your school resource officer, Eric Smith, who has been to every one of our meetings and has been a panelist, speaking to parents and kids. And it's interesting, you know, when you get families who have lost very young children, it's very difficult. And the one child that I remembered that spoke, whose older brother died of an overdose, was sobbing and saying, I go to parties and kids use drugs, and I don't know what to tell them. I want to tell them my brother died. And so she's really in a difficult place. I also want to say thank you for Patrick Galvin. I don't know if anyone's noticed, it's pretty quiet around Sonoma now with our new ordinance on blowers, leaf blowers. And so I'm just really excited. I wanted to say thank you so much, you know, for your involvement with trying to make life better for young people here, especially if they get involved with drugs and alcohol. So I appreciate the time that you've spent with all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Councilmember Agrimonti, or Harrington.
oh, I was just going to make the comment that one of the things that makes people have a high quality of life is having positive interactions with all of our government agencies. And I was just going to say, well, actually, one of the first things I noticed when I moved to Sonoma, I had to get my dog license here, and I went to the post office, and I didn't have the rabies, certificate. And the woman at the desk was like, "Oh, I'll just call the vet for you and have him fax it to me." Like, so helpful, going out of her way to be courteous. And I think all those things, like in addition, when we first moved into our house, before we actually moved in, it was robbed amazingly. The Sonoma Police Department found the person who did it and returned all our stuff. It was like unbelievable. And so I don't know how you guys do it, but somehow all of those little interactions with people all the time, I think, they're not only important for law enforcement, but they just really add to the joy of living in this town, that we have such great public servants. So on behalf of myself and the city, thank you so much.
Well, and really, I oftentimes, go to the meetings and get the accolades, but it really is the hard work of the men and women of the department who really make my job so much easier. And so some of them are here tonight, and really it's just a joy to work in this kind of community with such professionals.
Councilmember Cook.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. I watched the tribute on CNN today with the fallen peace officers and was moved. And one thing I really think the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department has done great in the last year is on social media, like the other night when there was a helicopter flying around. And that's good for public to know that you guys are out there, and I appreciate it. And since Dickie wakes me up every morning, that's a good thing, because he lives in my backyard to me. It's nice knowing that he's right there in case something bad happens. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Anything?
We're good.
Just a big thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
We worked together during the year, and it's fantastic what the entire department does.
Great.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
And we're going to take one step back to item number 2, which is meeting dedications.
Thank you. I'd like to dedicate this evening to a woman that just passed away on May 1st, Rosemary Ann Hakim, and she leaves 10 grandchildren and 2 great-grandsons. She is survived by her children, Lynn Abade Johnson, Angela Amin, Julia Abade, Nicole Abade Ducaraz, and I believe that she is on our school board. So I wanted to do that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate action. Anything removed? Seeing none, I'm going to take it out to the public for public comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Let's see Gary do this. Now you come back from vacation. Let's go back to the
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion. I have a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Agrimonti.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Mayor Hundley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.1, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding rising Pacific gas and electric rates, including City Council letter supporting Senate Bill 711 and other possible actions. And I believe I will first turn it over to our city manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor Hundley and Council. Let me give you a brief history of how we got here tonight. Back on March 22nd, Councilman Harrington asked for an agenda item to request the council to look into a study session to discuss some increase in PG&E rates that she had experienced and individuals talked to her about. And at that point, her concept was to maybe to do a letter to PG&E, maybe hire an intervener, and those were the actions based on what we knew at that point. On April 3rd, the council agreed, and we talked about kind kind of trying to keep it in a focused conversation. And coming back tonight, really, there's research that Councilmember Harrington and I have done. We're talking to some of our folks at PG&E and Sonoma Clean Power and others. And so tonight really is kind of an education session and some background. I'll turn it to Councilmember Harrington, who will talk about some of the research and background we were able to find, really using a lot of the leverage from Senator Jerry Hill's office. Brian Botari is here from PG&E, who will make a brief presentation as well, and Nathan Kinsey, who's an account executive with Sonoma Clean Power. The action at the end of the evening is to ask the council to support a letter to be that's within your packet, basically supporting SB 711 and allowing Councilmember Harrington to testify at the state on behalf of the council. So with that, I'll turn it to Councilmember Harrington.
Thanks. First of all, to PG&E and Sonoma Clean Power, thank you so much for being here tonight to address this issue with us. I think the most important, thing that stood out to me in Jerry Hill's report, which is very extensive and you have a copy of it, but if you use 20% more energy this year, and it was a colder, wetter winter than last year, your energy bill went up by 40%. And so, the measures in this bill that we would be supporting are, like, for example, to create alerts so people know what their energy use is on an ongoing basis so that they can reduce it if possible. But also, the first part, making sure that 70% of the bill for the average customer is covered by the lowered price Tier 1 rates for all winter months, and changing the way the baseline use is calculated. So some of these things, we're very lucky that Senator Hill has put so much time, and his staff put so much time and thought into how to address this, but I'm hopeful. It sounds like SB 711 is likely to pass. That's my understanding. And so I think it's a good thing to support, and thank you for, allowing this discussion to go forward.
Thank you. So next, I'd like to invite Brian Botari from PG&E to come up for a brief presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Mayor Hundley and council members for having me. And thanks very much for your attention to this issue. From the outset, I want to say we fully understand how frustrating and difficult it can be when bills are higher than normal or higher than expected. And so right off the top, I want to discuss some programs we have to help address those surprises on the bills. First off, any lower income customer who's not already signed up for our CARE program, I urge them immediately to do so. Call 1-800-PGE-5000. If you qualify, you can save 20% or more on your bills. And anyone can also sign up for high usage notifications and energy alerts at pge.com/energy alerts. So you can be notified if your usage gets high. What Councilmember Harrington mentioned in Senator Hill's bill would make those alerts more automatic. Right now you need to sign up for those kinds of alerts, so that's the difference there. And also I would encourage those, particularly on a fixed income, who want more certainty in their bills, to sign up for our balanced payment plan. Kind of flattens out the bills each month, makes what your bill will be more expected. So, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's bill is different. I brought Sam Velasquez with me. He's our customer care manager for North Bay. If anyone has any individual questions on their bills, catch us outside after this item. As for Senator Hill's bill, which deals mostly with winter gas bills, December and January were quite high this year for a lot of folks. From our analysis and Senator Hill's analysis in your packet, there were a couple of factors that contributed to those bills this winter. First, there were rate increases approved by the CPUC. Sorry, Siri. Maybe she can tell us. But it was mostly our gas transmission and storage rate case, which funds automated valves, new inspection technologies, and other upgrades to our gas transmission system, the high-pressure gas lines. That increase was about 14% on the average bill. That went into effect last August. The second factor is the tiered rate system, which Councilmember Harrington mentioned, and how it relates to the increased usage we saw over the winter. Some historical context, in the 1970s, the legislature established the 2 tiers for gas rates to encourage conservation. The usage in Tier 1 is what we call baseline usage. That's calculated by climate zone, what time of year it is, and those rates are below the average cost of delivering the service. And when customers use a percentage above that baseline, they're charged at the Tier 2 rate, which is often 40% higher or so. And every therm of gas above that baseline is charged at that higher rate. So this winter, we saw an increase in usage territory-wide, which is Bakersfield to Eureka, of about 21% in January. I don't have the data here in the Sonoma Valley. I do know from living around here that it was quite cold in January. There were a lot of cold snaps, and so we saw a big spike in usage just anecdotally here in the Valley. So a lot of that higher usage was charged at the Tier 2 rate, led to some bill shock that we saw. And so what Senator Hill was looking at with his legislation is how that baseline is calculated and really how we can keep customers in the Tier 1 as long as possible. Among other things, what it's recommending is right now we calculate winter usage on an average from November through February. The bill recommends shrinking that window and just calculating December and January when it's coldest. So when the usage is higher, more of that usage will be in the Tier 1. As policymakers yourselves, you know it's a delicate balance to strike. You want to encourage conservation. You want to provide the necessary funding to maintain the infrastructure. And you also want to keep bills affordable. So it's always at the front of our mind. I know the commission is looking at it very closely, and we're open to working with you all and Senator Hill's office on this as well. So thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bottari?
Were there previously 3 rates that were collapsed into 2?
So that was on the electric side. So after the energy crisis, there were 5 tiers for electric. That was then compressed to 4, and then the legislature passed a bill 2 years ago to phase that into 2. So we went from 4 to 3, and we're going from 3 to 2 actually this year. So the intention is to address this similar issue, but on the electric side in the summertime in the Central Valley, when they'll have tiers 4 and 5 when they're running their air conditioners all the time. So you're balancing it out. It's basically the same principle as they're talking about here on the gas side.
So do you expect there to be parallel rate increases on the electricity side when it's hotter summer months?
It's hard to say. It'll be different for everybody, particularly around here when we tend to have really hot days. So I think when folks are running air conditioners more, they'll see their bills drop from last summer because the Tier 3 doesn't exist anymore. But then on the other hand, on milder days, Tier 1 is higher now. So it remains to be seen how it's going to shake out, and everybody will be different on that one, I think.
Complicated matter. Thank you.
Indeed. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite, we have a representative from Sonoma Clean Power, and I apologize, I don't know your name, so if you'd please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mayor. Nathan Kinsey is my name. I'm a resident of Sonoma, so thanks for having me, council and city staff. Unfortunately, we don't do anything that's related to gas, so I don't have much to provide in terms of information on the gas side. But for Sonoma Clean Power, we've been in existence and serving customers since May of 2014. We are actually rolling out service in June of this year to include Mendocino County. And currently in Sonoma, we're serving about 88% of eligible customers. And Mendocino is trending at about 6.5 to 7% customers are opting out. So we're up there around a 93% enrollment at this point. I guess in terms of us launching, we have 2 different products of electricity, Clean Start and Evergreen. Currently, Clean Start is about 36% renewable, 41% hydro for about 77% carbon-free power. And our other service is Evergreen, which the city of Sonoma, I believe it was in October or November, right around the meter read dates, they elected to go to Evergreen for all the city accounts. So congratulations to the city, and thank you for making that commitment. In terms of signing up for our service, it's really simple. We're here to provide choice to our customers, so they can contact us at the office. They can go to our website to sign up, to opt up to our Evergreen service, or to opt out if they wanted to exercise their options. They can visit our website, or they can give us a call. In terms of rates, our rates right now, well, when we originally launched in 2014, the following fiscal year, we kept our rates the same, and then we lowered our rates, and we're lowering them again as we did that in May of this year. So currently our rates for electricity on residential side is about 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour, and on the commercial side it varies by rate, which is based on large, medium, and small commercial properties, is between 8 and 9 cents per kilowatt hour in the summer, and in the winter it's somewhere between 5.5 cents per kilowatt hour on average. If you guys had any questions related to electricity, feel free to, I'm here to answer those questions, but as far as it goes with natural gas or any gas provided, we don't have any services for that. So,
Thank you. Are there any questions?
No, not for the members of the council, but just for clarification for anybody in the audience or watching at home who doesn't know, Sonoma Clean Power is an alternative to PG&E, and people who want to receive their electricity could either have PG&E or Sonoma Clean Power, and so you could sign up for that, and you would have gas through PG&E and electricity through Sonoma Clean Power.
exactly, yes.
Any questions? Well, thank you so much for coming to our meeting.
Sure.
And at this point, I'm going to take it out to the public for public comment on this item. Yes.
Hi, Tom Conlon here, business owner on Napa Street. I support anything the council can do to encourage more disclosure in energy bill information to consumers so that they understand their bills better than they do. I know that PG&E and Sonoma Clean Power both struggle with this, as does the commission, and have for years and years. This measure, the SB 711, strikes me as a modest attempt in the right direction. I didn't see any opposition to the bill formally filed with the legislature. But it also strikes me as not really going as far as we all need to go. People need to understand their bills better. Bills should be simpler. Taxes should be simpler. People should be better educated in general. But in this case, anything we can do as a city to encourage our consumers locally to understand how they're using energy impacts their finances and as well as the planet through efficiency, that's really where the major savings can be gained. And in my personal case, I've been struggling with this myself. I bought a plug-in electric vehicle recently, switched my rate from tier E1, the basic residential rate, PG&E's basic residential rate, to the EV rate. And I spent about an hour and a half in Excel trying to figure out exactly what happened. It's not easy to understand the details in the bill, especially when you have Sonoma Clean Power having multiple tiers as well, with Evergreen 100% clean power. So anything we can do to make it easier, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. So do you have any more presentation on the two items? We have two items in front of us. One is sending a letter in support of SB 711, and the second is to authorize Councilmember Harrington to represent the council and speak on behalf at an upcoming hearing in Sacramento. So either discussion or if anyone's ready for an action.
I'd like to make a motion to approve these two items.
So we probably have to do one at a time, I'm guessing. So maybe we'll start with your favorite.
I'm trying to look for it. I'm looking in my paper. Which number? It's 659. Oh, thank you. So the choices are recommended action. I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the council send a letter of support of SB 711.
I'll second that.
Okay. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Agrimonti?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Mayor Hundley?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to make a motion to recommend that the council authorize Councilmember Harrington to represent the city council and to speak on behalf of the legislation at upcoming public hearings in Sacramento.
I'll second that one as well.
All right, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Agrimonti?
Well, I certainly support this bill. I went to high school with Jerry Hill. So I spoke to him this morning and I told him to be ready for you, Amy.
Maybe we should send you.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Mayor Hundley?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone that came to the meeting for this item. Moving on to item 6.2. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to adopt a resolution to update the city's cablecast policies and procedures for public education and government access channels, and a resolution to approve an agreement with Sonoma Valley Community Communications to operate PEG access channels and videotaping services for the city of Sonoma. I will turn it to the city manager.
Great. So for quite some time, decades, there have been franchises with cable TV companies, and these used to be regulated by cities. And part of that was that the cable TV companies had to provide some kind of access and public access to these channels. And so there was a public access, an education access, and a government access. Some agencies have 3 channels, some 2, some 1. There was some changing in federal and state legislation in 2006, I believe, that basically changed and moved the franchise control and oversight of cable companies to the state, and we made some of those changes at our last meeting to update our ordinances to reflect that. So the item before you tonight is to change the actual company that we as a city are partnering with and contracting with in order to be the provider of the PEG access channel. We are just finishing a contract with, we've had a contract for 10 years with an organization called Common Bond Foundation. They've decided that they want to kind of get out of this line of work, and we're fortunate to have another community group that also has deep roots in town to come forward, and that is Sonoma Valley Community Communications, led by Bob Taylor and Stan Pappas, who are here in the audience with us. So they are a nonprofit taking on the PEG access oversight and implementation, and the action before you are kind of twofold. So asking you to approve 2 resolutions. One, the council's had a long time and has had some cablecast policies and procedures. So I've reviewed those both with legal and with Bob Taylor. We kind of updated them where some places they were dated, clarified. So we're asking you to pass a resolution to approve those policies and practices and procedures for how the channels are used. In addition, asking that some of those things could change from time to time, either legally or they really are more sometimes administrative policies. So we're asking that you authorize the city manager to make edits to those in the future so we don't have to come back to council. Obviously, if something was a major policy change, I would bring it to you, but I think any changes would probably be more tweaking around the edges. And then the other is to approve an agreement with Sonoma Valley Community Communications to have them be the PEG access provider, and then also have them do the whole variety of duties that are associated with that, including there'll be an annual report, they'll come to council, they'll provide additional information directly to me as the city manager. And I'm also recommending that we pay Sonoma Valley Community Communications for doing the taping of these meetings. They in prior Common Bond before, frankly, have been very gracious and been taping council and planning commission meetings with no compensation. From my experience in other locations, that is not the norm. Typically, that is a piece that you would have to pay someone to do, and if you don't pay your PEG access provider, you pay another contractor to do it. And frankly, it's nice to have the person who helps us put everything up on the cable TV to be the folks actually taping the meetings and then working with us in partnership. And as a side note, you'll see some of this when we talk about budget in a month or so, but have been working with Bob Taylor also to look at the cameras and the technology in the room. Our cameras are about 10 years old, and so we have some replacement funds within our budget that we'll be looking at bringing council some improvements to the number of cameras, placement of cameras, and some of the technology that we hope will improve the crispness and the look and the feel and just how the image goes out to the community. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and Bob Taylor and Stan Pappas are here from SVCC.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll take it out to the public for public comment. Seeing none, I will bring it back for council discussion and action. We'll have
can
two
I-
motions today.
I was going to make a motion. Oh, can I make a motion that we adopt a resolution amending the cablecast policies and procedures for public government and education access channel Sonoma GTV channel 27?
Second.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Agrimonti?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Mayor Hundley?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I have another motion, please?
I'd like to adopt a resolution, make a motion to adopt a resolution approving an agreement with the Sonoma Valley Communication to operate PEG access channel and provide videotaping services, incorporating the Comcast or the Cablecast policies and procedures for public, government, and educational access channel Sonoma Valley Television (SVTV) attached to the agreement as Exhibit A, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city of Sonoma.
I'll second.
Thank you. And I wanted to make one short comment. I couldn't believe that you guys have been volunteering your time filming all these meetings. So thank you for all of your free labor, and I'm glad that we can all, work together to help support your cause. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Agrimonti?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Mayor Hundley?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you both. All right, moving on to item 7, council member reports and comments. Anybody? Seeing none. Item number 8, city manager comments and announcements.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Hundley and Council. I just have a few updates. So just wanted to report to Council and community. If you recall, probably a couple months ago, we came and brought an opportunity to do a temporary public art installation in Depot Park and the plaza, and so we'll be bringing that back on June 5th. We've made some progress on that. It's come to the finance, your Fine Arts Commission, and working that through. So looking forward to bringing that back to council shortly. For all of you who are going to be away for the 4th of July on vacation, you're not going to miss our July 3rd meeting. So that Monday, July 3rd meeting, we don't see enough business and not sure that there'll be enough focus on our business. So we will be canceling that meeting. So we'll have the meeting on the 17th, and if we need another meeting, we could do another meeting later in July, but we'll wait and see. And just one other brief update. The city's no smoking ordinance that was approved by the voters in November, there is information up on our website about that now on the code enforcement page. There is a frequently asked questions FAQ sheet. In addition, been partnering with some volunteers who have been at Farmers Market, providing information to the public. Code enforcement has also been at the market the last 2 times and will be out again. In addition, we're mailing letters to hoteliers and to some of the restaurants in town, and we'll be walking the plaza to make sure that folks know about the ordinances. It's nicer and people are outside, so just want to make sure that folks know that there is some education efforts going on.
And before we adjourn, I wanted to, I was going to get you to help me with the name. Today's meeting was dedicated to, Rosemary and Hakim. And this meeting is adjourned. It's the big letters, not the little letters.